Shalom, happy
Shalom.
Sabbath. Our people here present and our people out, throughout the four corners of the world, scoping us out this evening. Pray that the Most High had a mercy on us this week, that you guys had a blessed week. For myself, it was a better week than past weeks because trying to get organized and trying to stay organized. But the topic of this evening is bearing your cross. We're going to go into that, bearing your cross. Anybody kind of understand or know what that means? What do you guys think that means? To bear your cross. You have a mic out there? Go ahead, let us know what you think.
Bearing your cross, doing the work of the Most High, your issue.
Doing the what?
Doing the work of the Most High.
And what was the last part?
Your issue, doing your issue for the Most High, doing your work.
God. Yeah. And do you consider that being something, I guess, like painful, something that's kind of like
Nah, I feel like
considered as a burden?
Nah, I feel like it's a privilege, it's an honor.
Beautiful, yeah, exactly. But you know what's crazy though, when you hear that, bear your own cross, so you gotta, make sure you it sounds like a burden. From the Christian perspective, it sounds like it's something that is dreadful or something, some type of negative situation that you gotta live through.
I think it's more so being responsible, for yourself, putting in the work that you need to put in for yourself, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
Bearing your own cross,
That's what it is. But as we're trying to get the understanding, because you ask people, and usually that's what unless you're in the truth and you kind of already been in the works, you understand it. But even some people in the truth kind of see it as something that's troublesome. You come into the truth, you don't understand Sirach 2, that it tells you prepare for temptation. And again, people come up in here and think it's going to be all smooth, right? But it's not. It's the beginning, because I'm going to use Paul for as a point of reference for this class. Can you close the door out? The water. Because he's a good example, a modern example, because stuff that we could relate, right? Rome was similar to Babylon, to the states of America, the U.S., and Paul was one of the individuals that was living at the time. He was set up pretty well, right? But before we get to Paul, let's go straight into it. Let's go to Luke 14 and 27. But what the brother said is pretty much on point. That's exactly what it is, to do your own part in this walk, in this truth for the Most High. But go ahead, 14 and 20. Let's see, 27.
Book of Luke, chapter 14, verse 27.
You know what? You can start at 24.
Verse 24. For I say unto you, that none of those men which were bidden shall taste of my supper.
Right? So when you go above this is the parable of the Great Supper, right? From that Great Supper, he goes into this understanding that he's giving out to his people, right? His disciples. Go ahead.
And there went great multitudes with him, and he turned, and he said unto them, if any man come to me, and hate not his father and mother.
So this is after the supper situation. He's saying, to this great multitude, listen up. It says, if any man come to me and hate not his father, does that hate mean the hate that we understand this present day? It's not, right? Meaning that you got to prioritize. And that's one thing, too, for our brothers watching us, people present that might have an issue with some of these words. Look into them. You got Strong's Concordance. You got many concordance, right, that you could go into to understand really what these words signify. Because a lot of the things that we know this present day, like jealousy, for example, you hear in Exodus 20 that Most High is a jealous God. People look at it like, oh, that's kind of weak. Nah, that's not weak at all. He's particular about what he set forth, the covenant that he wrote, the agreement that he made with us. It says if you go against it, then guess what? We have some issues. Just how a husband is supposed to have with a wife that wants to do whatever she wants. And instead of obeying her husband, she out here acting worse than a single sister, because he's now out here rebelling against, the covenant that she took part of. So that's what, you got to really look into these words to really understand the meaning. So now it says hate. So meaning that if you put these people and put them as priorities above the Most High, read that again.
Verse 26, if any man come to me and hate not his father and mother and wife and children and brethren and sisters, yea, and his own life also.
And his what?
And his own life also.
So that's that part that we're going into this evening, right? And his own life also. Go ahead.
He cannot be my disciple.
You heard that, right? So then it's like, how can I hate my own life? But it's what the brother was saying earlier at the beginning of the class, Amataza, right? Like you really got to look at this and understand it's a blessing for us to even know this word, for us to even be in the situation we in these curses, and for us to have been able to receive the word and be in the position that we understood it, right? And we took heed to it, and we switched our ways from whatever we were back in the day to what we are now, and trying to do better on a constant basis, right? So it's saying, you cannot be my disciple if you do not disregard or put your own life secondary, and prioritize his works. You are not to be his disciple. You can't be his disciple. Continue on.
Verse 27, and whosoever does not bear his cross and come after me cannot be my disciple.
You see that? So, and it says, whoever does not bear his own cross and come after me cannot be my disciple, right? So we're going to go into that word right quick. You got bear off of Strong's G941. It says to live, literally or figuratively, endure, declare, sustain, receive, etc., right? So then it's saying you got to endure, you got to carry, whether it's figuratively or literally. There's certain things you got to do physically in this work, in this walk. And there's a lot of things that you got to do spiritually, mentally, right? But it all connects. Then we're going to go to, so that was the G again, G941 for bear. And now we have, of the Strongs, we have G716, 4716, Salakia, for cross. So remember, a cross at that time was one of the worst ways of being punished, being put to death. It was the type of a method that they used for execution, in a sense, right? So it was out in the open. You were made an example. You were mocked, right? You were disrespected. Because when you look at that, from the days of Rome all the way to the Inquisitions, from the French Revolution all the way down here to the Americas, that's how they used to take our people out. At the stake, if you read Devastation of the Indies, you read a lot of these books of slavery. They used to either put us up in the middle. When you look, a lot of these Latin American plazas, you still have them out here. Like when you look at, the missions and stuff like that, they're laid out to the point that's like, it's like a turnaround. It's a circle. And in the middle of the plaza, that's where they would execute these things. So that's the same way they did brothers back in the day in Rome, the same way that they would come out here, that they came out here and did the same method. They used the same method, the Jesuits, with our people, right? As an example. They used to either do them on a cross, on a stake, individually, or they would hang them by the dozen, saying it was in representation of the 12 disciples. If you haven't scoped that out, scope that out. The Devastation of the Indies is a good read, and it shows you right there. So it was a way, a disrespectful and treacherous way of being put out, being put to death, right? So that's one of the definitions, where it says a stake or post, right, set upright, especially a pole or cross, as an instrument of capital punishment. So imagine now how we got, what do you call it, lethal injection, where you got these chambers, gas chambers. You also have, back before those two things were introduced, besides all the crazy methods that Esau has created, in the Asians too, with the water torture and all that, it was execution style. But at this time, this was one of the methods used for capital punishment. So that's what Yahweh Shai went through. He faced capital punishment, right? So then it says, figuratively, exposure to death. So that's the part that we want. Because remember, according to Revelation 6, some of us, besides Yahweh Shai, have gone through, like John the Baptist, right? A couple of brothers back in the day. I mean, pretty much all the disciples were put to death in pretty messed up methods, right? But in Revelation 6, when you look at it, it talks about that because, you know, the people, let's go there for a quick reference. Revelation 6, and this is what we got to understand the scripture fully, because it's mainly for us right now, it's a lot of mental and spiritual death that we got to deal with, right? But as you guys can see, things are turning up. You see a lot of exposure out there in the public, right? In the media. And then you see these brothers. They twist their arm. They still push forth. They twist their arm a little harder. All right, I'm going to give in. Man, it's crazy. But you look at it, because brothers, that's this, you know, what the scripture says, you know, that the flesh is weak. The spirit is there. The spirit knows what it's supposed to be doing, but the flesh is weak. And that's exactly what we're going into this evening. You got to bear your own cross. Because imagine these brothers. How many rappers haven't put out there that they're Israelites? How many NBA, NFL, right? Players out there, athletes. And then at the end of the day, you seen what happened this week and what's been happening these last 2-3 weeks. And then they come out with apologies when you're like, all right, cool. He's handling his. Next thing you know, release the apology. And the way they apologize is crazy. But that's the balance that we got to have. You know, these brothers are also tuning in. If they tuning in, it's like, you know, the hell with this system. We got to stop depending on this system. And that's what happens, though. But if we are 10 toes down, then guess what? Anything that comes our way, you know, Shema, we were having a conversation last week. And it's like, what could they really take from Jakes? Think about it. And that's one of the heaviest weapons they got going against them. Because if we're grounded, you already know what the next step is, which is what the scripture says right here. Read Revelation 6 and start at 9.
Revelation chapter 6, verse 9. And when he had opened the fifth seal, I saw under the altar the souls of them that were slain for the word of God.
That were what?
That were slain for the word of God.
So we go right there. You know, capital punishment. Right? John the Baptist got decapitated. Brothers got beat down. Got put to, you know, put on the stake and lit up. So it says he saw these that were what?
That were slain for the word of God.
So remember, Salakia, this is prophecy, right? But this is also, you know how it's dual. The scriptures are dual. Like back in the day, they had this understanding, because remember, these scriptures have been around for a minute. This same book that we're reading right now, they were reading back in the day, and they were getting understanding from it. So you look at that, right? From the beginning, there's always been blood that's been shed from our people defending this gospel, defending the nation and defending the people. So continue on.
And for the testimony which they held.
Go ahead.
Verse 10, and they cried with a loud voice, saying.
Listen to these people, these brethren, right, that have passed defending the gospel. Go ahead. What were they saying?
Saying, how long, O Lord, holy and true, dost thou not judge and avenge our blood on them that dwell on earth?
You hear that? That's heavy, right? So these brothers right here that are already in that place, they were saying, how long? How long is it going to take for you to avenge us, Abba? Go ahead.
Verse 11, and white robes were given unto every one of them, and it was said unto them that they should rest yet for a little season.
So they were like, you know what? Here are these robes, and guess what? Chill out. Just dwell for a minute. Dwell for a minute. Why?
Until their fellow servants also and their brethren that should be killed as they were should be fulfilled.
You hear that, right? So it's inevitable. At this present time, we're not there yet, but we're right around the corner. So when we read these scriptures, man, it's uncut. This word right here, the Most High says there's no private interpretation. And I was just meditating on the way in right now, because this curriculum went out a month ago, right? Before all this happened. But look at how the Spirit be moving, right? Right on point. And then this week, these apologies come out. It's like, man, you know, at least me, how I see it, I'm like, man, the hell with them apologies. Say what it is, and that's it. It's not like the brother did much anyway. It's like you put up a statement, you put up a comment, you put up a link, and then bam, you're suspended from certain things, right? From your bread and butter. But again, then think about it. You're already profaning the Sabbath, whether you're a celebrity, whether you're an athlete. So then you're already playing with fire. So then it's like, if you're really gonna be about it, then be fully about it. It's like, okay, cool. Use that, the following you have to put out this message, because regardless, it went out and it did damage. Whether it was Kanye, right, or anybody else that has spoken about this recently, Israel's waking up. You look at the algorithms, everything's popping up. And that's how it's gonna continue to happen. They can't do nothing about it. And it's crazy. I don't know, even we were hit up from, around here or whatever. So I don't know if brothers gonna continue go through with it, go forth with it, but it's funny how a lot of these people, you got to be wise how you deal with them. But regardless, I take it how the scripture says. Some preach the word of Christ for gain. Some preach it just, for fame. Some do it out of, sincerity. Regardless, Christ is put out there, right? So either way, the word is getting out there. You got something out?
No, I was saying about what Kanye and them did, or what Kyrie Irving, it's like it's having a reverse effect. You know what I mean? I understand the reason why they're trying to keep the word silent, but it's having a reverse effect. You know what I mean? Everybody, like how you said on the comment section, people who I'm talking to that wasn't even trying to hear this, is now talking. I got brothers talking about they're going to be here. They finna start coming. They feel like I got brothers calling me talking about, man, I see the revolution done started.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And, just it's changing. Everybody trying to figure out what's up with this video. You know what I mean? This video was that powerful, and all he said, what everybody could see, all he said was, he just put up a link, and they trying to take this man's livelihood. They wanted him to pay. He got to apologize. All that. Everybody's seeing, the wickedness and the evilness of what they're doing. You know what I'm saying? So it's having a reverse effect. But the Most High using them, man. And I was telling the brother, man, it's a beautiful time to be alive, man.
Exactly. Yeah, and exactly what you said, because that's what the scripture says, man. Esau's wickedness is going to be exposed. Why are you canceling these jakes when they're not doing much, right? Brother put a link, and you out here taking his livelihood. So anybody that has any common sense is going to be like, all right, hold up. Let me check this out then. Damn, my brother been in my ear for years about this. Oh, damn, is that serious? All right, let me scope it out. I'm telling you, man, this scripture that we're reading about in Revelation 6, that's pretty much the next step. Remember what they did back in the day? They start burning our books, holding us back from keeping these feast days. Make it against the law. I mean, they already kind of made a gang of things against the law. They just got to implement them fully, right? Remember for COVID, we weren't even supposed to congregate. Imagine that if we follow through with the laws of the land that are against, because remember what the Most High Son said. Yeah, is it render unto Caesar what is of Caesar, but give unto the Most High what is of the Most High. That's that balance that our people forget sometimes. That's that balance you can't forget. Because if it's against the laws of the Most High, he's telling you to come together, keep my feast days, and the government's telling you the opposite. Hey, what you gonna do? You're gonna bear your cross. You got to push forth. You got to do what the Most High tells you to do. Because remember, that's what the Maccabees were doing. They're like, all right, whoever's God-fearing and is keeping these laws, come to the hills with us. We're going to fight to gain ours back. We're going to fight for the word. We're going to fight for our people. Them brothers knew exactly what this topic was about, right? But was that it with that? Finish that up?
That was verse 11.
Yeah, read 11 at the end, the latter part of it.
That should be killed as they were should be fulfilled.
Exactly. So let's go back to Luke. And let's go back to cross. So then it says, figuratively exposure to death, self-denial by implication, right? The atonement of Christ via the cross. So self-denial, that's the part that we got to understand. When we set them up, let thy will be done. Thy will, not our will. Because again, the flesh is weak, right? If we look at if we followed everything that we needed, that we wanted to do, imagine where would we be? Or where were we already, right? So let's go from there. Let's go to John 15. John 15. We finished Luke? Read Luke again. I'm sorry. 14 and 27.
Verse 27, and whosoever doth not bear his cross and come after me cannot be my disciple.
All right, let's go to John now. Go to John 15. John 15 and 1. Book of St. John.
This is the book of John, chapter 15 and verse 1. I am the true vine, and my Father is the husbandman. Every branch in me that beareth not fruit, he taketh away, and every branch that beareth fruit, he purged it, that it may bring forth more fruit.
Exactly. So Yahweh Shai is letting you know exactly what he is. He's not a joke. The brother was never out here boasting. He was real meek and humble, right? But he never lost sight. Just the same way we can't lose sight of what we are and what we bring. Remember, it says we are the light, right? We are the ones that are supposed to walk with wisdom to those that are without. So then these opportunities, man, they're opening up for everybody to do their part, from a youngster to the oldest, brother or sister, because it's out in the media. It's games that we follow, right? Sports that we watch, it's music that we listen to. I mean, everybody plugged in. So then when these things pop up, like the brother was saying, man, I got brothers hitting me up that they're going to show up. Exactly. That's when you got to be equipped and be like, all right, I knew this was happening. It shouldn't be a shocker. We should be expecting, man, a whole flood of these events to take place in the near future. And just with this that already sparked, take advantage of that. And, bring the people in. Show them, like, look, it's not me no more. It's not only me, the Jake that you thought was going crazy, that was in a cult or whatever. But this is exactly what it is. There's books. Same references that I've given you back in the day, but you didn't bother to scope out. Now that this is happening, go ahead and scope it out. Go ahead and scope it out and get at us. Get in the book. If you don't feel comfortable, scope us out online. Ask questions. We have, Monday classes, Q&A every Monday, every first Monday of the month. Promote these things, So, I was talking to an elder here, I think the last new moon. And he was talking about, a certain camp and their Spanish channel. That's what he was giving brothers that spoke Spanish. So like, oh, well, we have a Spanish channel. All right, cool. Let me take it down. I'm going to promote that now. But my whole point saying this is, no matter what it is, if there's a source where brothers could get fed, you got Filipino people, right, out here in the States. We got a Filipino camp, brothers in the Philippines. You got brothers that you might be on a plane going wherever. You meet them you meet them at whatever airport you at. Oh yeah, I'm from Ghana. I'm from Nigeria, whatever the situation is. Okay, cool. Here, this is us. These are the brothers. We got a couple of camps out there, a couple of congregations out there. We got brothers in Korea now. Israel's everywhere, man. I'm telling you, I've been around for a minute, and I was around before this YouTube and all this media was as heavy as it is nowadays. Back in the day when I used to read these scriptures, I'm like, how is it that everybody gonna find out? We got a lot of work ahead of us. And we do, but think about it. We're streaming right now. We don't know who's watching from where, right? The Most High is wonderful how Satan's own devices is gonna backfire on them. They're already doing so, right? But at the same time, we gotta we need to have a strong foundation, because the same situation could happen to us. Because imagine you pop on, all right, I'm going to scope out a lesson, I'm going to do some research, and next thing you know, you're lost. Scoping something else out. Scoping the lust of the flesh. Or wasting your time on nonsense. Again, so it's like, we're going to go into that part in a minute with a couple scriptures following, but the whole point is make sure you take advantage. Like really when it says bear your cross is... it says self-denial, right? So make sure we're denying ourselves as far as the wicked side of us, the old man, the old woman. Whatever. Imagine right now, I was moving, every time, you keep the Sabbath, whether you stay home, whether you come to class or whatever, you drive around. What are people doing Friday evening? Everything, right? Whether they're having dinner, going out, you hear music blasting, clubs that you never knew existed. I was rolling through some like commercial, industrial part of LA a little while ago, and there's like 3 clubs going on. The sun's barely setting and stuff. But it's like, man, it's crazy because that's where we used to be at. This is how you function in the world. You work hard and party hard, right? Sometimes you do the opposite more than the work part of it. But imagine you look at kids right now in schools, drugged out. The incident we seen, a while ago, our people is just jacked up left and right, doing their own will, thinking that they're living the most, living their best lives out here, especially in the northern, the U.S., because everything goes out here. Everything is permitted out here. We had not only 1 month, but we had 2 months of Pride this year. It's backwards in a mug. Halloween, you've seen everything that happened this Halloween, right? All praises to the Most High, because that's what it is. I'm surprised, more people didn't get run over like a couple, years back or whatever. But anytime Halloween kicks in, you see the nonsense that our people partake of, and death always comes. And these are the deaths that are reported. Imagine everything else that we don't hear about. But think about it. You got block parties out here in Riverside and kids shanking each other, blasting each other. It's crazy how you see brothers with guns. Anybody has a gun now, and they just pull in and shoot with no remorse, no... It's not as, but then again, Matthew, 24, I think, and 16, talking about the love of many shall wax cold because of all the wickedness that is allowed in this place, right? But continue on with that script,
John 15 and verse 3. Now ye are clean through the word which I have spoken unto you. Abide in me, and I in you. As the branch cannot bear fruit of itself, except it abide in the vine, no more can ye, except ye abide in me.
Man, so he's telling you, like, look, there's nothing that you can't do without me. So for all our brothers and sisters that don't believe in Christ, then again, you're pretty much doing everything in vain. Because he's telling you, as meek as he was, as humble as he was like, look, I'm letting you know, I am that true vine, and my Father is the husbandman. It says, every branch in me that beareth not fruit, he taketh away. And then he says, and every branch that beareth fruit, he purgeth it, that it may bring more fruit, right? When you look at something, you look at anything, as it gets pruned out and everything, you see it bear more fruit. You could adjust it. You could, situate whatever plant you have to the way that it's going to be as fruitful as you want it to be, but you got to put in work. If you leave it alone and you don't consider what he said right here, that he is the true vine, then you can't do none of it. None of the stuff that you read about or you want to push forth is going to come to fruition because you're not going. Remember, he says, I am the door. There's no other way to the Most High. And if you understand Torah, you would understand what he means by that. Because remember, in Hebrews it says that he is basically the new priesthood. And back in the day, if you understand how that played out, we couldn't go to Yahweh except it was through the sons of Aaron. So it's the same situation that we have here. So again, bearing your cross is self-denial and doing everything that Yahweh wants, right? And that Christ already came forth to let us understand what it was that he required of us. He required the same thing that is in Deuteronomy. Let's go there, as a matter of fact. Go to Deuteronomy, 10 and 12? Yes, 10 and 12.
Book of Deuteronomy, chapter 10, verse 12. And now, Israel, what doth the Lord thy God require of thee, but to fear the Lord thy God, to walk in all his ways, and to love him, and to serve the Lord thy God with all thy heart and with all thy soul.
Exactly. And go to John 14 and 15. So it says to love him with all your heart, right? To fear him, to respect him, to give it your all, right? To bear your cross. What does John 14 and 15 say?
Verse 15, if ye love me, keep my commandments.
So did anything change? Nothing has changed from beginning to end, right? So everything was already laid out. Yahweh Shai just came to remind us what it was that the Most High required of every single Israelite. And he also said, look, out of all the Israelites in this world that Most High has created, only a certain fraction of them is going to be able to make it. He even showed it with his disciples that he had along with them, right? He showed everything. He showed, what was it, doubtful Thomas. He showed, the disbelief that Peter had, right? And he showed how Judas was just a straight sellout. Judas was like, man, the hell with it. I'm not bearing my own cross. I'm going to just sell them for a couple, 30 shekels? Imagine that. But again, it's prime examples. It's like we out here sometimes having issues with our brothers and our sisters, like we're some type of special individual. When Christ went through it, and he was special, he was without sin. And he still was like, I'm still going to go through with it. Let thy will of the Most High be done. Even when he was out there, he was like, man, if you could take this burden from me, please do so, Abba. But again, at the end of the day, let thy will be done. He understood fully what this walk was about. And again, that was before he was put on that cross. He knew what his responsibilities were, what he had to do, what the tasks that were given to him, right, to accomplish were, and he went through with every single part of it. Every single prophecy, every single thing that was prophesied of him in the Old Testament, he fulfilled, right? That was supposed to be fulfilled. And then he's like, all right, now I'm out. I'm gonna sit on the right side of the Most High. And next thing you know, the next time I come through, I'm gonna come through to judge. He was clear with the instructions. He even said, look, I'm not gonna drink of the vine until I do so with you guys again in the kingdom. So think about it. That's heavy right there. Imagine. He was considered a wine bibber, right? He's like, I'm going to put this to the side until I do it with you guys again. The 1/3, the chosen, the ones that endure until the end, the ones that are able to bear their cross just like I did. So we understand these things. It makes it easier for us to go through this walk. It makes it easier for us to be like, you know what? Christ went through it. Who am I? Who am I to be complaining about certain situations that I get hit with, right? I want to, what is it? Nah, we could skip that. Go back to John 15. Yeah, verse 4.
Book of John, chapter 15, verse 4. Abide in me, and I in you. As the branch cannot bear fruit of itself, except it abide in the vine, no more can ye, except ye abide in me.
Come on, let's go to Colossians now. So let's not forget these things. Man, it's a trip how you look at all these lessons, right? And when who sees it like this? Like every lesson pretty much is the same thing. It's just a couple of different points that are covered. Do lessons connect to you guys? Right? Yeah, redundant, right? But again, remember Psalm 78. Because a lot of people be like, man, can y'all talk about something new? Like, yeah, it's new, but it's the same thing. Because remember, it's summed up like what we read right now in Deuteronomy 10. What does he require of you? This. What is it? Obedience. Obedience for you to look out for your family, for your nation, right? With that, you're looking out for the building of the nation, the whole nation, and everything that the nation requires. Because when you look out for somebody, you got to make sure that you provide for them everything that they need to survive. And a lot of times it's not just the material stuff. Material things, of course, they're necessary. But imagine, like he said, I could, well, he didn't say it, but he showed it to his disciples. He showed them how to fish. You go out there and show somebody how to fish, they good. They're good for life. They go out there, fish with you, and have a good meal, then that was it. That was then and there, and that was it. That was final. But then again, that's what he's telling us here, like, self-denial. Whatever you think your life should be about, reconsider it, and then you got to organize your life to first think about it. We got feast days, right? That's where you start when you come into this truth. Okay, cool. Well, I was doing this and I was pursuing this. Can I still pursue this without profaning the days of the Most High? And if you can, cool. Go ahead, continue with it. If you can't, then guess what? You got to reassess the situation. All right, guess what? I can't continue with that. So I had a plan B. Let me look at it. If you didn't have a plan B, then now you need a plan B. Sometimes you got to probably go and start at the bottom because, of course, bills got to get paid or whatever. So in the meanwhile, you might do something that you don't really want to do, but guess what? You're still going to do it to be able to provide for your own, because guess what? That's part of the walk. He says, he that doesn't provide for himself or for his own is worse than an infidel. So all these things connect, and it's like, okay, cool. It's constantly like you in this walk, you got to be like water. Always. Imagine it's a trip. I was talking to my mom about that this week, a 9 to 5, right? We have a 9 to 5 for the most part. These bastards come through and implement something that's called what was it called when they switch the time? Day savings, whatever crap daylight savings, right? How does that make sense? You tell me. I've never gotten it, right? But now imagine you have it cool, but now let's say you're getting out at 5:30. The sun is going to be setting about 5 now. So it's like, damn, okay, what do I do? It's constantly like, it's a constant battle in this place. But again, that's when you gotta, use all methods to get ahead of their nonsense. Colossians talks about that too. All the devices of the devil. You gotta always, that's where the 1 Peter 5:8 it says to be sober and be vigilant. Right? Be sober, be vigilant. Always pay attention to everything that's going on around you and plan ahead. We're supposed to start working on our calendars as of November, because more corporate America, usually you put your time in November, right? Your time for the rest of the year. So then our brothers and our sisters need those feast days so they could go ahead and, to the best of their ability, ask for those days off. So that's what it is to, deny yourself and be in comfort all the time. No, be in the comfort. Have the nation be in the comfort of keeping these scriptures to the best of our ability. So then again, it's like bearing your own cross constantly. It's little things, right? You look at, fringes. Every little tiny things. Your baby's running out, outgrowing the shirts that were fitting them prior to whatever, age he's turning or she's turning. You got to be ahead of the curve. You got to be ahead of the game. Make sure everything's on point. And again, remember, when we represent the Most High, we got to do it with pride. We got to, move in a respectful manner. So always really take that pride into fully fulfilling His will, right? But read that out. Colossians 1:21.
There's a book of Colossians, chapter 1 and verse 21. And you that were sometime alienated and enemies in your mind by wicked works, yet now had he reconciled in the body of his flesh through death.
So Yahweh Shai, right? He reconciled us with the nation again, with our power, with our heritage, right? Because we once, all of us here, except for the ones that were born in this truth, we were strangers, we were aliens, right, to this word. But through his death, we were reconciled to the word, right? He's talking to the people here back in the day that were scattered throughout, the lands. And he was letting them know, because remember, when you come to the book of Acts, you had people in the known world back then all throughout that had been considered, you had the 10 tribes that were considered Gentiles that were coming into the understanding again and had been reconciled to the Jews, Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. Go ahead.
Verse 22, in the body of his flesh through death, to present you holy and unblameable and unreprovable in his sight. Verse 20, verse 23, if ye continue in the faith grounded and settled, and be not moved away from the hope of the gospel.
Read that again.
If ye continue in the faith grounded and settled, and be not moved away from the hope of the gospel, which ye have heard, and which was preached to every creature which is under heaven, whereof I, Paul, am made a minister, who now in my sufferings for you,
Who now rejoice.
who now rejoice in my sufferings for you, and fill up that which is behind of the afflictions of Christ in my flesh for his body's sake, which is the church.
Come on. Read 23 again.
Verse 23, if ye continue in the faith grounded and settled.
So it's letting you know, remember, now you here, you're not alienated no more. But it's not, okay, you found out you were a Jew and that's it. Oh, I'm an Israelite, I'm cool, which is what a lot of us think. You see brothers, oh, Shalam, tribe of Benjamin, tribe of Zebulun. So what? No fringes, no beer, with a Starbucks. It's Saturday evening, Saturday midday, right? You out there teaching, brothers coming out with McDonald's, Little Caesars, Shalom, yeah, I know what's up, I know the truth. So why are you not keeping the laws, brother? It's not to sound like no a-hole, but it's like this is not, it's not a joke. Paul's telling you right here, okay, now you're not alienated. Through Christ, you were reconciled, right? But now what you got to do is continue in the faith, grounded and settled. Go ahead.
And be not moved away from the hope of the gospel, which ye have heard.
See, but that happens. As we continue in the walk, sometimes we get weak, right? Sometimes, again, work is a heavy one. Work might just get you caught up. For brothers here, it's like whatever at the end of the day. It's lovely. I've seen, like, again, I always bring it up, man. Brothers that came in young, that are here now, have their own families. From the jump, they were like, whatever with work. They would quit jobs on the spot if it was going against the law. Beautiful. But, other people, and especially in the situations we have right now with this economy, it seems a little more complicated. But as you listen to these words, as you listen to these lessons, you really got to consider, like, hey, is it worth it? It's not. Because at the end of the day, it's just a test. And the Most High is looking to see if you're going to pass or you're going to be weak in the day of temptation, right? And these are the things that he starts seeing, like anything else, a corporation, a gang, a mafia, whatever. They're looking at what you're made out of. The Most High is looking at what we are made out of, right? Made of. So he's like looking like, okay, cool. All right. I could work with him. I could work with her. He was looking at Peter. He was testing Peter. And he was letting Peter know, nah, you're not ready yet. Well, what are you talking about? Nah, you're not ready yet. Just you got the potential. You're going to be able to be there, but you're not ready yet. He was looking at it like, man, I'm with it. Tell me what to do, I'm doing it. And even when he, brothers covered it, I think, last week. Oh, nah, it wasn't a regular class, but, the incident with Peter, they come in and pick up Yahweh Shai, and Peter's the first one to pull out and chop off that Roman soldier's ear off, right? Christ was like, nah, man, chill. Let the will of the Most High be done. It's like, I got the ability to call mad legions right now and eliminate everybody, all my enemies. But it's not that time yet, right? It's not that time yet. So having understanding of when and when to go is something that you got to get as you go through this walk and really meditate. Because, man, I've had the question back in the day where, like, how do we know it's not time to go against Esau? And you might be young in this truth and feel like, really, like, look, we should be going against these bastards already. All right, reassess the situation, though. Or assess the situation. Are we ready? Are you grounded? Do you know the basics? Nope. Then you're not ready. Read the basic, something like the art of war. Peep that out. Do you know your enemy? Nah, not really. Then what's up? And do you know the principles of the Most High? Right? The one that's going to lead this fight? Nah, not really. Then chill. It's not time yet. But this damn computer's gonna die on me. So let me go through these scriptures before I continue on. Let's go to Colossians 3:1.
Colossians chapter.
So with that, Salakia, finish 23. Right here, pretty much, Paul gave it all up, right? Paul gave it all up to raise that church, the church of Christ, which is the nation of Israel. You know, all the churches that he was leading at the time. Read 23 to 24 again.
Verse 23, if ye continue in the faith, grounded and settled, and be not moved away from the hope of the gospel, which ye have heard, and which was preached to every creature which is under heaven, whereof I, Paul, am made a minister, who now rejoice in my sufferings for you, and fill up that which is behind of the afflictions of Christ in my flesh for his body's sake, which is the church.
Exactly. So he's saying, he gave it all up for the sake of the church. Let's go to Colossians 3.
Colossians chapter 3 and verse 1. If ye then be risen with Christ, seek those things which are above, where Christ sitteth on the right hand of God. Set your affection on things above, not on things on the earth.
Exactly. So affection, off of Strong's G 5426, which it states to exercise the mind, example, entertain or have a sentiment or opinion, by implication to be, right, disposed. Then it says intensively to interest oneself in with concern of obedience, right? Set the affection on, care, right? Be of one, be of the same. So it's not what we understand as affection, the modern term of affection, but it's telling you to intensively, right? To take the interest of caring for this law, right? So it says, set your affection on things above, not on things of the earth, on the earth. Go ahead.
Verse 3, for ye are dead, and your life is hid with Christ in God. Verse 4.
Yeah.
Verse 4, when Christ, who is our life, shall appear, then shall ye also appear with him in glory. Verse 5,
So this is what we got to do now then, right? Once we understand these things, once we understand that we got to set our affections not in the things that are in this world, but in the heavenly things, for us to be able to get there, we got to do this. Go ahead.
Verse 5, mortify therefore your members which are upon the earth, fornication, uncleanness, inordinate affection, evil concupiscence, and covetousness, which is idolatry.
Go ahead.
Verse 6, for which things sake the wrath of God cometh on the children of disobedience.
Exactly. So when you understand it, then it's the bearing your cross, your own cross, for the most part, is just that obedience, right? When it comes time for you to go ahead and risk your life, right? Then guess what? You got to take that step at that time. If it comes down to, go to 2 Maccabees 7. 2 Maccabees 7. There's situations that, our brothers and sisters had to face back in the day. In Revelation 6, it's telling you, look, it's going to happen again. Go ahead, take these white robes, but in the meanwhile, just dwell out. But it's going to happen. There's more bodies that got to be laid out of the nation in order for everything to be fulfilled. Get 2 Maccabees 7 and read. You guys are familiar with this story, right? The mother? Khan. So, exactly. Let me see if I could get straight to the point. Go to 14. So you guys know the story. We're just going to cover a couple verses, but basically this was a mother of 7, right? And all of them were ready to go for the Most High. You read about it in historical accounts out here in the Americas, where our brothers were ready to die in order to not disobey the law of the Most High. You've seen it in Spain through, the wars. You see the Moors. You see our people all throughout the four corners of the world. You have evidence that our people were willing to give up their life before going against the laws of the Most High. So again, they were able to bear their own cross, right, and endure until the end. Go ahead, read that.
This is 2 Maccabees chapter 7, verse 14. So when he was ready to die, he said thus, it is good, being put to death by men, to look for hope from God, to be raised up again by him. As for thee, thou shalt have no resurrection to life.
Imagine that. That's cold right there. Imagine your son, you're about to, you know you're all going to get put to death. And instead of trembling, like most of our women will probably do so nowadays, right? They looking at that son saying these things, and it's like, that's dope. That's all praises to the Most High, because guess what? That's what I'm about to do at the same time. Just the same way my son's going out, I'm going out the same way. You know the story when she was put to death. She clowned that dude. And before that, she spoke to them in Hebrew, right? And before she was put to death, man, she said the same thing that this brother said right here. And was ready to go. So again, right here where it says, you know, for which things sake the wrath of the Most High cometh on the children of disobedience. This is Colossians 3 and 6. So really understanding these scriptures that we're getting right now, that moment, once we are placed in that moment, guess what? It should be easier for us to be able to, you know, take part of whatever, you know, whether it's going to be torture, whether it's going to be death, whether it's going to be incarceration, whether it's going to be living in the streets, because technically you won't be in the streets. If you're really about this word, the Most High already told you, he's going to provide for you. He says, look, no matter what, I'm not going to forsake you. If you obey, Maccabees tells you that. Mattathias, before he passed away, he told his sons, look, do the will of the Most High. Defend the gospel, right? Defend the law. Defend the law and defend the nation, defend the people. And then he gave them a rundown. Remember, because everybody that did this, the Most High never forsook any of them. So again, the sum of that is just being 10 toes down and knowing that regardless what situation comes your way, you got to still endure and continue on forth. You had something? No, that was it with that. Yeah, so now go from there. Go to understand this right here. Go to Proverbs 4 and 20. Just to understand how to move and be able to get to that finish line.
Book of Proverbs, chapter 4 and verse 20. My son, attend to my words, incline thine ear unto my sayings. Let them not depart from thine eyes, keep them in the midst of thine heart. For they are life unto those that find them, and health to all their flesh. Keep thy heart with all diligence, for out of it are the issues of life.
Exactly. So for out of it are the issues of life. So he's letting you know, you want to be healthy, you want to be well off in this world. Guess what? All you got to do is make sure you listen and remember my proverbs, my songs, my law, my prophecies, right? His sayings, right? So it says, don't forget this law. In that same verse, look at what he says in verse 1. 4 and 1.
Verse 1. Hear, ye children, the instruction of a father, and attend to know understanding.
Right, so it says, hear the instruction of a father. This is what we have. This is what we do every Sabbath, every time we open up and we have class. This is all we're covering. It ain't that deep. It's not that complicated. But again, our people always, want to make it more complicated than what it is. All it is follow the rules, follow the laws of the Most High. And with that, guess what? You're going to get that understanding. You're going to be able to go ahead and move through life much easier, right? Go from there, go to Luke 6 and 45. And one of the things that you guys got to understand, right, is because you look at it, okay, you don't got to do your own will. And then sometimes you might be like, okay, how do I do that though? So that means I got to give everything up? Do you guys think you got to give everything up? If you have a business, everything's going well, and it's not going against the laws of the Most High, should you let that go? Not at all, right? We're trying to build a nation. Because I don't know, sometimes a lot of our brothers, maybe it's changed after, in the present time, it's probably different, but a lot of times Israel thinks that they got to give everything up and live a miserable life. I don't see that in the scriptures. He tells you that it's hard for a rich man to make it into the kingdom, right? It's almost impossible. But at the same time, you look at the brother that came and got Christ off the cross into his tomb. You guys remember that brother, Joseph? He was a rich brother. He was wealthy. So he knew, he understood, he had that balance. Before you go there, go to Jeremiah 29 so we could understand this. Because, again, remember, a lot of our people, you become an Israelite and it's like, that's it, I gave it all up and I'm going to live my miserable life. Nah, it's not like that. There's a balance, and Yahweh told you exactly how to live in a captive state, which is what we in right now, right? Go to Jeremiah 29, and I think it's 5.
Yeah. Jeremiah chapter 29, verse 5.
Start at 4, right?
Verse 4. Thus said the Lord of hosts, the God of Israel, unto all that are carried away captives.
Carried away what?
Captives.
Where are we right now? We in captivity, right? So we captives. Go ahead.
Whom I have caused to be carried away from Jerusalem.
And he's telling you, who I made captive. So if we remember all these things, we're going to be on point. And it's going to be easy for us to really understand where we at. That's why when you see, the media going off and it's like, all right, all praises. The Most High is like, people are like, oh, but is Kanye keeping laws? Like, no, he's not keeping laws. But guess what? He's exposing it. He's exposing this truth and he's exposing the wickedness of the Amalekites, of Esau in general. That's good enough. That's good enough, because guess what? People are waking up. People are peeping that and like, you know what? Let me look into my cousin. He been a Hebrew Israelite for about 10 years. Let me call him up. Because it sounds like everything he was saying is coming to fruition. Right? So then you understand this too. Look, so it says, you understand that I took you into captivity, but check this out. What does he say?
Whom I have caused to be carried away from Jerusalem unto Babylon. Verse 5.
Now, once you're there for your disobedience, and remember, not everybody was disobedient either. Not all Jakes, not all Israelites that went into captivity were disobedient. But guess what? We all paid, right? Like when Esau's out here, like, oh, that wasn't me. That was my forefathers. Guess what? Just how we're paying for our forefathers' transgressions, you're going to pay for your forefathers' actions, right? Because you still ain't trying to switch it up and make it better. They always come through with the same nonsense. That wasn't me. I didn't do that. But still got the same spirit in their vessel, right? So now he's saying, look, now once you in this captive place, right, being oppressed, what do you got to do?
Verse 5, build ye houses and dwell in them, and plant gardens and eat the fruit of them. Take ye wives and beget sons and daughters, and take wives for your sons, and give your daughters to husbands.
Go ahead.
That they may bear sons and daughters, that ye may be increased there, and not diminished.
Exactly. So when you look at when we were in captivity in Egypt, what happened? The same thing, right? Because we were getting above. When you look at Babylon, Timbuktu, it says that we weren't consumed into their culture, but instead they were consumed into ours. And it talks about all the different people that we had, right? Doctors, we had blacksmiths, we had IRS, accountants and all that. We had everything that you could think of. Israel was controlling it. In Egypt, the same situation, right? In Babylon, the same thing. Every captivity, if we were abiding by the laws of the Most High, go to Joshua 1 and 8. When we were abiding by the laws of the Most High, guess what? Hold that too, though. Come back to it. Everything went well, and we were pretty much having a shadow of what would be, what our lives would be in the kingdom. Because that's what we see nowadays. Imagine we out here Brothers are expounding throughout all these continents, right? Brothers is buying land. Brothers is building. The next thing you know is like brothers. A lot of brothers is doing their own businesses now. A lot of sisters doing their own things. We have the marketplace right here as one congregation of many in the nation, right? And our brethren, even our youngsters, they're thinking different. Our youngsters should not be thinking about clocking in and clocking out for Esau. If you're thinking about that, or you know, you're thinking of a job you want to get into, you should really meditate. And remember, look, you're a prince, you're a princess. You're supposed to be ruling. As a ruler, you shouldn't be clocking into no job. People should be clocking into your business, right? But again, this is how we're to be disconnected from the ways of captivity that we in this present time. Because remember, Deuteronomy 30 talks about it. We're going to go through the curses, right? Through the blessings and the curses. And then we were going to be back into that prosperous state. So that's what we rehearsing that right now. And constantly, I see it in brothers, I see it in sisters, how we're getting closer to it because we think different. Everything that happens out in this world is like, it's crazy. It's like literally we in a matrix. We just go through it, live, do our daily tasks, get back, and stay focused. Once we lose focus, you could tell a brother and a sister that's off. And it's for us to correct them. And Most High willing, get them back on track, right? But look at what it says right here, Joshua 1:8. And this is exactly what we were fulfilling in every captivity. And by we, I mean the Jakes and sisters that were in full obedience to the Most High. Go ahead.
Book of Joshua, chapter 1, verse 8. This book of the law shall not depart out of thy mouth, but thou shalt meditate therein day and night, and that thou mayest observe and do according to all that is written therein. For then thou shalt make thy way prosperous, and then thou shalt have good success.
Exactly. And that's exactly what you're accomplishing when you're right here. Go back and finish up Jeremiah. So it says, build ye houses, dwell in them, plant gardens, and eat of the fruit of them. Take ye wives and beget sons and daughters, and take wives for your sons, and give your daughters to husbands, right? That they may bear sons and daughters, that ye may be increased there and not diminish. So the whole point of us being in captivity is gaining back what we had in our own land, right? To be ready for when we get ours back, how to, be able to operate properly and govern those land masses the way that we're supposed to, which is according to the laws of the Most High. Finish that up. Look at what it says right here in verse 7.
Verse 7. And seek the peace of the city, whither I have caused you to be carried away captives, and pray unto the Lord for it.
So it says, seek the peace of the city. We are here in LA, right? It says, seek the peace of that city that I've sent you to. And then it says, and pray unto the Lord for it. How many times do brothers not bring it up? Where are we at? Around us, what are we surrounded by? And all praises to the Most High, we have peace within these four corners, between these four walls. Within these four walls, right? When you have death all around us. But that's exactly what the Most High is we're doing what the Most High told us to do. And this is the book of Jeremiah. Old prophet that nobody was listening to back then, right? All praises to the Most High. Our people here are listening to him. We're trying to do everything that it says right here. It says, and ask the Most High for this peace. Go ahead.
For in the peace thereof shall ye have peace.
Read 8.
Verse 8. For thus said the Lord of hosts, the God of Israel, let not your prophets and your diviners that be in the midst of you deceive you, neither hearken to your dreams which ye cause to be dreamed.
Exactly. So it says, stay focused. There's going to be prophets among you. There's going to be people among you that are going to try to fool you and make you live some type of, some other life that's not according to scriptures. And you have it amongst congregations. You have it amongst leaders that start showing you how to do certain things, how to benefit their pockets instead of the nation, how to benefit the individual instead of the whole congregation. That's what Israel's done for the longest. Remember, we had Sadducees, Pharisees. We had all the sects back in the day. Ain't nothing different than from what we have this present time, right? But again, if you understand what it is to bear your own cross, then it's easy. Remember, in the book of, what is it, Micah? Where it's talking about it's not a rest. Micah 1 and 10, right? I believe it's Micah 1 and 10. Get that right quick. No, it's not that. But this is what we got to recall. Let me get it right quick. That this place right here is not our rest. So then we can't get too comfortable. Going back to the balance, right? The balance is telling us, okay, build ye houses, do whatever you need to do here. But when it's time to depart, 2 and 10, when it's the water, when it's time to depart, depart. So that's that balance that we got to have. We always got to be ready. Anything that we have here, be ready to let go of it. Imagine you have families, right? You might have a family with husband and wife, a couple of kids. The odds that all those kids make it are not that great in this place, in this North America, in this United States of America, right? It's difficult. So that's why, you know how they say it takes a village. So that's why as we are raising these kids, these sons and these daughters, we got to make it a great environment for them to be able to want to continue on. But imagine, out of 3 kids, you lose one of them. The Most High already said it through Yahweh Shai. Hey, if they don't want to repent, let them go. Thessalonians tells you, let them go. Correct them, admonish them, and if they still don't want to go ahead and come back and repent, let them go. But don't go out here bending and disobeying the Most High to try to please that particular kid or spouse, even your mother or your father. That's exactly what it's saying. So once you are locked in, then it's like whatever. You become cold-hearted in a sense, but it's only towards wickedness. Because if it's wicked, the Most High says, hate wickedness. He said he is angry constantly at all the wicked individuals, all the wicked acts in this world. So then if we want to be like him and, bear our cross, then guess what? We got to do the same thing. We got to disconnect. So my whole point, what I'm trying to say right now is, look, make sure that you build them houses how Yahweh said in Jeremiah 29, right? But at the same time, don't get too attached to these things. Because remember, we're nomadic people. As soon as we got to go, then that's it. Let that go. That's what brothers talk about, bug out bags and all that. Because it's going to come a day where we're going to need to bug out. Right? Just like you read about it in Maccabees. Right? But read this right here. This sums it up right here, 2 and 10.
This is the book of Micah, chapter 2, verse 10. Arise ye and depart, for this is not your rest, because it is polluted. It shall destroy you, even with a sword destruction.
Exactly. He told you exactly why. He says, this is not your rest. We in captivity. We're doing time right here. This is jail. This is the pen, right? We serving our time. He says, don't get comfortable in here. But guess what a lot of our people do? We get comfortable in this place. We see that paycheck come. We see the dispensaries being open. We see the club open up here. We see the liquor shop, having the best liquor out there. They got the specials. So we get caught up and start doing the lust of the flesh instead of the will of the Most High. And at that point, we already departing from the Most High's will and doing our own will and moving more in a fleshly manner than the spiritual sense. So then at that time is where you got to check yourself. But a lot of our people is like, I'm cool with all that. I'm going to do me. I'm going to live my life. And that's what we, and it's crazy because even in this walk, you got certain things sometimes that, want to get you caught up. But that's when you got to put a stop. send them up and fast. Hit up a brother, hit up a sister. Have that counsel. Before you even make a move, it says before every enterprise, take counsel. So you could, amongst counsel, you're going to have that safety, right? But then the Most High just told you, look, don't get too caught up here, man, because this is not a rest. It says, for this is not your rest because it is polluted. It shall destroy you, even with a sore destruction, which is what we're telling our people out here. We're telling ourselves and we're telling the rest of the world of Israel that we got to make sure that we stay the course. When you look at that, stay the course, right? It's not going to be an easy path, but regardless, whatever it is, we got to stay grounded and continue on to make sure that we make it to the end. Go to Mark 8:36. I'm about to wrap it up. Mark 8:36.
This is the book of Mark, chapter 8, verse 36. For what shall it profit a man if he shall gain the whole world and lose his own soul?
Nothing, right? We already read right now. It says they were going to be hit with a sore destruction. It says the Most High is angry. He's ready to judge all those individuals that are going to go, that have gone and continue to go against his will. So it says, for what shall profit a man if he shall gain the whole world and lose his own soul? Imagine Kanye letting you know that right now. As easy as he gained the whole world, right? Right now that he's speaking against Job 9:24, the rulers of the world, because that's exactly what he's saying. All Kanye is saying right now is, all he's doing is exposing the rulers of the world, being the Edomites, which Job 9:24 tells you that the world was going to be given to. These are the people that are controlling the whole world, and he's going against them. So guess what? They're looking at him like, oh, now you a threat. We're going to shut you up. So we got to remember, like, okay, cool. If we know our position, then nothing's supposed to change our path, redirect our path, right? We got to stay the course. We got to stay on point. We got to walk in that straight and narrow path, that complicated path that if you look to the left, you look to the right, you got death surrounding you. But knowing that, and knowing that we're going to be recompensed in an unimaginable way, then it's like, you know what, it's like whatever. Really, the world ain't got nothing enough to offer for us to give in, for us to sell our soul, right? Because what's going to profit us? In Job, it tells you the triumph of the wicked is but for a moment. Why would you want just a temporary victory when you could have eternal life if you continue on, if you bear your own cross, if you do the will of the Most High and not the will, your own will, right? Go from there, go to Deuteronomy 4. Read Deuteronomy 4 and 5.
Book of Deuteronomy, chapter 4 and verse 5. Behold, I have taught you statutes and judgments, even as the Lord my God commanded me, that ye should do so in the land whither ye go to possess it.
All right, so remember, this right here, if we all understood it, then we would really take pride in what we are partakers of. If this was being applied in this present day, man, it'd be we'd be in the kingdom already. This would be the kingdom right here, a shadow of the kingdom, because guess what? We would be walking with our heads high up, not on no prideful tip, or the negative aspect of pride, right? But we would be roaming these streets with that understanding that we were made in the image of the Most High, and therefore we got to represent everything that is of him in this book, right? Because it says right here, it says, behold, I have taught you statutes and judgments, even as the Lord my God commanded me. Go ahead.
that ye should do so in the land whither ye go to possess it. Verse 6, keep therefore and do them, for this is your wisdom and your understanding in the sight of the nations, which ye shall hear all these statutes and say, surely this great nation is a wise and understanding people.
Exactly. Imagine that. Are they saying that right now? They're not saying none of that, right? But guess what? Once they come across certain brothers, right? Once they see, they see you with fringes, they know that you're not a dummy. And they usually put you to the test, right? They ask you about certain things. And once you let them know what you're about, then it's like, all right, they gauge you out. And they do respect you. When you go around these heathens and you have this understanding, have this knowledge, you're able to go through life much easier. Now you're not right here thinking, how can I get this position? How can I do that? How can I do this? You know, because you have this wisdom. This Bible right here doesn't show you just the religious aspect, right? As far as what we're supposed to do, but it shows you everything. It's a book of laws, statutes, and commandments. Religious, right? The religion part of it is what we practice as far as our feast days, as far as, fringes, beards, and so forth, the whole law. But it's a book of laws, statutes, and commandments that when you fulfill them, you're able to direct yourself in any environment and come out, right? So, you have a successful outcome, no matter what situation you're in. You know when to speak. You know when to be quiet. You know when to observe. You know when to make a move. So all these things is what the nation was known for back in the day. And people, the other nations will be, surely this great nation is a wise and understanding people. You read of all our history, all the law-abiding Israelites, right? You look at historical accounts, there were individuals that were in high regards, in high positions. I always bring it up, Daniel, second hand, right? Second in command in a sense. Joseph, second in command. You go even in the days of Yahweh Shai. You look at Paul. I said I was going to use Paul as a reference. Remember, Paul, he had dual citizenship, right? He had dual citizenship, and he even used that to his advantage. And this is one thing we got to understand, going back into understanding how we got to bear our own cross. Us here have it much better than our brothers in third world countries. $1 here, $1 in the Philippines, $1 in Ghana, $1 in Latin America does much more than what it does out here. So then when we're tuned in to what the nation requires, just like the book of Acts, when the brothers sold all their belongings and broke bread and broke it evenly, gave every individual enough to be able to sustain themselves, right? They divided it. They divided everything equally, right? Then these are the things that we got to read about and be able to do ourselves. Because just like Paul, for example, says, Paul was a Jew born in Tarsus in Cilicia in Asia Minor, which is present-day Turkey. He was given the Jewish name Saul. His parents were originally Jewish, but later, as foreigners in the Roman Empire, they acquired Roman citizenship. This made Paul to have dual citizenship, right? Jewish and Roman. And you guys recall what happened when he got locked up, right? You guys recall that? What did he do with his citizenship? He said he used that. He used it for what? He used it to appeal whatever he was being charged with, right? If you guys haven't read that in the book of Acts. He said, all right, cool. So then this is how you operate in whatever situation you're in. Some of us may have dual citizenship. There's certain places that you could get citizenship without you even going to them countries. You go online and apply for that. So imagine when you hear brothers are in another, in a third world country, in another territory outside of the States, then immediately you should start looking into how can I continue the works and how could I make this gospel be spread in that particular region. What can I do in this particular region? You got, a brother out here that's about to move to, Africa, He's already setting up shop out there as far as, I'm gonna get this piece of land, I'm gonna build this build this school. I'm gonna be able to house so many people. I'm gonna be able to set these businesses up. This is the way that we should be thinking, according to whatever portion we've been given to, But again, remember the scripture says a man that travels is hella knowledgeable, right? It's real, like whenever you leave the block, the country, the state, just the neighborhood that you in, you start to see life different. Brothers have traveled throughout the world. You come back and it's like, man, you see the potential. You even come back with a drive, like, okay, cool. I see how my people are getting down out there, and they have nothing. We spoiled out here. All right, so let me go ahead and get what I need to get to help my people here and be able to expound, right, and expand the truth in these particular places. So this is something that Paul was doing. Because remember, Paul, before Christ spoke to him, before the Most High, brought him in to spreading his gospel, right? He was out here persecuting the church, persecuting our own people. So these are the things you got to look at. Okay, cool. Whatever I was doing back in the world, how can I use it to better the nation? So what I'm saying is, whatever you have, whatever's in your, whatever potential you have, whatever abilities you have, right? Whatever resources you have, that's what you got to use to be able to go ahead and make sure that this nation is built in this present day. Because remember, we're rehearsing the righteous acts right here. We had, when I was talking to brothers back in the day, as far as brothers that come out of town, it's like we got to talk amongst each other. I think Yashamai was covering that last week. It's like, man, we got to get to the point where we know that we have at least a house where we could house brothers coming from out of state. Brothers come here for, to keep the feasts, the 3 feasts that are mandatory for males to keep. We got to look at things like that. Look, okay, cool. Let me make sure that we have something available to be able to make it easier for our people to come through and continue with this walk. So, bearing your own cross is just that. It's making sure that you really understand what potential you have. Know that it's not your will that you're doing, but the will of the Most High. And that you not only get in, have the understanding, but remain, like Colossians was talking about, like Paul said, make sure you endure. Make sure you stay constant. Make sure you stay, 10 toes down and continue to push forth until the end. Let me get this right quick. Let me get, now we covered Deuteronomy 30. Let me see, Matthew 16. Hold up right quick. 22.
Book of Matthew, chapter 16, verse 22.
All right, so then this is what I was talking about earlier, right? Because sometimes we'll do certain things that are for our own benefit and not the benefit of the nation, not the benefit of the Most High. And this is something that Peter didn't understand it at that time. But that's why Yahweh Shai dealt with them the way he dealt with them, right? Look at what happened here.
Verse 22, then Peter took him and began to rebuke him.
Actually, start at 20.
Verse 20, then charged he his disciples that they should tell no man that he was Jesus the Christ. Mm-hmm. From that time forth began Jesus to show unto his disciples how that he must go unto Jerusalem and suffer many things of the elders.
And do what?
And suffer many things of the elders.
So he was letting them know, look, I'm going to go through some rough times. I'm going to suffer many things from these elders, right? Go ahead.
And chief priests and scribes, and be killed.
And at the end, I'm going to be killed, right? He's letting his disciples know that, right? Go ahead.
And be raised up, and be raised again the third day.
So he's letting them know exactly what the prophecy had already said of him, right? In the Torah and in the prophets. So now he's letting them know. He's reminding them, look, All right, now that you know, because he was asking them, who am I to you? And they were like, you're the Christ. You're the Son of the Most High. He's like, all right, cool. But let me tell you this. I'm going to go ahead and suffer many things of the elders and the chief priests and scribes and be killed and be raised again the third day. Look at what happened with Peter. Go ahead.
Verse 22, then Peter took him and began to rebuke him, saying, be it far from thee, Lord, this shall not be unto thee.
Imagine that. You think Peter had bad intentions when he was saying that? I don't think so. I don't think Peter had any bad intentions, right, when he was telling them that. But it's the love that he had. It's the love that he had for Yahweh Shai. He's like, nah, man. It ain't got to be like that. Nah, it ain't going to be like that. You're going to be here with us and you're going to continue to teach us. What happened? What was the response of Yahweh Shai?
Verse 23, but he turned and said unto Peter, Get thee behind me, Satan.
Imagine that. Imagine how Peter felt at that moment, right? But again, this is as we're walking this walk, when you are corrected by brothers, right? You gotta humble yourself. And before you react, really meditate and try to understand, why is it that I'm being told these things right now? If it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 brothers telling you the same thing, more than likely you're in the wrong, right? Instead of you fighting that, it's like, nah, all right, you know what? Let me humble myself, send one up right quick, and pay attention to what these brothers got to say. Or brother, whatever the situation, or a sister, right? Correcting another sister. All right, peep it out. Because this right here, Peter had no ill intentions, and when he said that. But then Yahweh Shai was like, man, get thee behind me, Satan. Go ahead.
Thou art an offense unto me, for thou savorest not the things that be of God, but those that be of men.
Imagine that. He says he was too focused in having Yahweh Shai as a homie right there. Right? As a big homie teaching him. He's like, nah, that's why he was always telling them, like, man, how many times do I got to teach you the same thing? Take notes. Learn this. Get this. Because my days are numbered. I'm not going to be here for long. As a matter of fact, let me remind you, look, in a minute, I'm going to be put to death. Peter was like, nope. Yahweh Shai was like, man, get behind me, Satan. How are you going to say that the will of the Most High is not going to go forth? I'm saying all that to say that no matter what it is, what situation you are in, because sometimes you get comfortable, don't let that comfort throw you off. Be like, nah, get behind me, Satan. It might be your rib. Nah, you really going to go out teaching today? Come on, man, just stay back. Let's watch some movies. Let's kick it. Let's spend some time together. I thought the whole week we spent together. Man, I got to go. As a matter of fact, you too, you come through, come to class, support. Because it's easy. Hey, Akim, I'm going to stay back today. I'm a little burnt out. Nah, man. And not to say, again, remember, there's a balance to everything. But I'm saying there's certain situations where the will of the Most High, right? Not the will, but the needs of the nation are more important than your comfort. That should be all the time. But again, remember, brothers even have a rotation where it's like, all right, brother's going to take a month off, a week off, whatever it is, because you see that in the scriptures. You read about that in the New Testament with John, right? And it's John's father. So there's a balance that must be kept. But again, where there's certain temptations that you know you're not supposed to be in that situation, correct it, right? And react the same way that Yahweh Shai reacted right here. Like, nah, you're holding me back from the will of the Most High. I know this spirit. That's why you got to pray for discernment. Then you get stuck like, man, what should I do? Should I stay here? Should I do that? No. Have that discernment. Have that understanding. Always communicate with your brethren. Always be busy. Because if you're busy, regardless, you're going to make things happen. When you're busy, when you have due dates, you make things happen. And if you don't make things happen, then the spirit starts messing with you to the point either you're going to get it right but you start falling away. Let it be the first. Let it not be the latter, right? Let you make sure you correct your spirit. Make sure you correct your actions. Because once you do that, guess what? You get better. You level up constantly, right? But let's finish it up with this script. Let me get Matthew 24:13.
This is the book of Matthew, chapter 24, verse 13. But he that shall endure unto the end, the same shall be saved.
Exactly. Go to Romans 8 and 18. So he that endureth until the end, the same shall be saved. And look at what it says right here. There's my go-to script, man. Whenever you brothers or yourself are going through it, remember this right here.
This is Romans chapter 8, verse 18. For I reckon that the sufferings of this present time are not worthy to be compared with the glory which shall be revealed in us.
Exactly. That's what Yahweh Shai never lost sight of. He's like, whatever I go through right here, that's why he checked Peter the way he checked him right now. He's like, whatever I go through right now, man, it can't be compared with the glory which shall be revealed in us and the coming of Christ, right? And the second coming. So as long as we recall that, guess what? It's all good, no matter what we go through. Because it's only going to be, look at the story of Job. Job went through everything, took all these losses, but at the end of the day, he was still blessed. He was blessed how many times more than the previously, right? Was it 10? Was it 7? Regardless, it was multiplied, right? His blessings were multiplied unto him. So, with that, we're going to close the class off and the lesson, the water for tuning in. And make sure to tune in tomorrow evening for the closing Sabbath class at 4:30. Catch you next time. Shalom.
Shalom.